All right, quick little status update here. If you saw the last video, you saw me fail to install the Dunlop tires, or at least the rear tire. So we decided to go with a more traditional style tire. These are Duro HF 314s on the front and rear. Up front, we've got a 19 by 3¼ and in the back an 18 by 3½, which are the factory sizes. I did manage to dig out some of the old linkage from the first attempt at this build. So I've gone ahead and kind of roughed in the shift linkage. I don't have a clutch cable installed yet or any of the other controls, so it seems to be working, but I haven't been able to verify 100%. Right now it's just a piece of all thread, so I'll wind up putting some kind of sleeve on that to stiffen it up and then add some nuts to lock everything in place. I don't recall where I got this piece. It's possible, at least this top half, from Dime City Cycles, and then this piece from somewhere else. This is kind of like a ball and socket kind of thing. I'd really like to get this engine running again, so my focus now is kind of getting the wiring roughed in. So I've gone ahead and re-sleeved the wire here on the points. That was kind of a mess from when I had tried it before. I did re-sleeve the wires coming off of the neutral switch and the alternator, and I've gone ahead and made some kind of simple brackets here so I can run these just generic coils, new OEM condenser, and just kind of getting everything roughed in up here. And then for now, I'm going to dig out the original wiring harness and kind of wire things up just enough so that I can see if we can get this bike started. So I just installed a new set of spark plugs, and before that I had this set of Allen head bolts from, I found the little card that came with it, alloybolts.com. For the most part, everything was correct. There were a couple that weren't the exact length. All in all, pretty easy swap over. I need to get a new set of spark plug caps. These are the original ones. And they'd probably be okay, except I'm missing the boot or whatever you call this part on one of them. So at some point I'll just swap these out for a new set of NGK caps. But for the time being, these should be fine. Everything's wired up here for the coils and points and condenser. And I've started putting the controls back on. I just want to get the wiring kind of roughed in, at least to the point where I can start this in a couple days, hopefully. And I was about to install the carburetors, but then I remembered I had the engine stored next to the workbench at our last place. And after sitting there for the better part of a year, just all kinds of crud, metal shavings and sawdust and all kinds of stuff had just kind of been raining down. And unfortunately, I did not have these covered. So I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but there is all kinds of crud in there. So before I can install these, I need to disassemble them, clean them out with carb cleaner, spray them off, and then I can go ahead and install them. So like I said, the insides of these are pretty clean. I'm going to remove everything just because as I'm spraying and then blowing out with compressed air, I don't want to force crap down into the jets. So by taking them out, hopefully I'll eliminate that possibility. But As of right now, the internals are clean. It's just in the intake, and there's some garbage here just from sitting on the bench. So lesson learned. I could have saved myself a lot of time here if I had properly stored this, but oh well. Oh, I can feel there's some kind of grit in here. This thing doesn't want to come out nicely. Yeah, I don't know if you can see it. There's all kinds of metal shavings on there. So I really don't want to remove the butterfly if I can avoid it. It looks like someone may have already. These screws are a little kind of boogered up on the end there. I don't know. I don't remember doing that myself. But now you can see how much filth is on my hands. This isn't from the inside of the carburetor. This is just trash that was built up on the outside, and then this kind of worked its way in here. I just got done spraying this outside with some of this just regular old brake clean. It's still a little dirty on the outside. I'm not worried about that right now. I just wanted to make sure things were clean on the inside. There was quite a bit of grit inside of here, so this was worth doing. So I'm going to reassemble this one real quick, do the same with the other one, and then we'll see if we can get them installed. I just realized I did forget to take out, there's another little jet down in there, so hopefully that doesn't come back to bite me. It's not a big deal to take these back apart right now, but I'm just going to go ahead and reassemble anyways. We'll take our chances. Now, off camera, I did check all the little passages inside the jets and the emulsion tube there. They are clean, so I'm not ignoring those. I just didn't film it. All right, there's one all back together. Do the same thing with the other one. I won't bore you with that. And we'll come back when we are ready to install them. All right, guys, another quick update here. I apologize for jumping around. I've got a habit of kind of coming out to the garage thinking I'll be out here for 5 or 10 minutes. I'll just throw something on the bike. Next thing you know, I've been out here for an hour working on it and forgot to record any of it. So I've installed the throttle cable and just kind of laid the wiring harness in place. Up front, I've wired up just the bare minimum to be able to turn the engine over and ideally get it running. And now I'm working on getting the charging system wired up. So my goal here is to, one, make sure the engine's still running correctly, get the timing roughed in, and two, make sure that the charging system's working. So I am going to be using a Rick's Motorsports Regulator Rectifier. I've used these in the past. I had this one that I was going to use on the Super Hawk, I couldn't find a place to fit it, so it's been on the shelf since that project. So this is a perfect project to put this on. I've got these on a couple bikes. I've been very happy with them. A little bit on the pricey side, but overall it's performed well. So I'm going to use that. So I'm switching over some of the connectors here to fit what I've got already on the bike. And then I'll need to find a place to just temporarily mount this. I think I'm going to put it on the underside of the electronics tray. That's over there on the floor. That way it's going to get plenty of air. Shouldn't be too visible, so it's not going to look too out of place, I don't think. But again, for now, we're just laying everything in place. I really would like to hear this thing run again. It's been sitting quite a while, and I want to verify that the core electronics are working properly. So I'm going to put some new connectors on the end of the leads coming from the alternator, and then get those soldered in place. These are the crimp-on connectors, so technically you don't need to solder them. I've had them pull off in the past, so I've just gotten the habit of just putting a little bit of, let's see if we can see here. So you can just see there's a little bit of solder there, just making sure that's not going to pull out of the connector. So it's mainly just peace of mind for me. It takes a couple extra minutes, but these things should never come apart at that point. Okay, I've got some more stuff wired up. This kind of Frankenstein mess here is obviously for testing purposes only. At this point, I just want to make sure that the ignition circuits are all in order. Make sure this solenoid works. The one that came with the bike, the threads on these copper posts were all screwed up. So I had this one sitting in my spare parts bin. Apparently at one point I had decided it was okay, so I put that tag on there. Let's hope I knew what I was doing when I tested it at that point. I replaced the connectors that came with the Ricks Regulator Rectifier with these bullet connectors. I like them a little better. They're just a little easier to work with than those big plastic blocks. Other than that, everything's essentially wired the way it would have been in terms of grounds and starter cable. It's just hanging everywhere. I, for now, just kind of made up some additional wires. I don't know where the little cable to connect the positive to the battery to the solenoid was, so I just made one up real quick out of some stuff I had on hand. So I was able to dig out the key. So let's give it a shot. I have not tried this yet, so at this point I'm just hoping for no smoke or sizzling sounds. Ideally I hit that button, the engine cranks over, and then I'll be ready to move on, find the mufflers, and keep going. So here we go. All right, so not doing what we wanted it to do. So I'm gonna go trace some wires, make sure we're plugged in, and actually I may just jump this solenoid off the battery directly, see if that even still works. So give me a second here. So I spent a few hours over the last couple of days troubleshooting and testing and swapping parts and trying to figure out why this wasn't turning over. And unfortunately, it looks like the starter motor is bad. So I don't know if something shorted inside of it, or after years of the engine being kind of shuffled around, or somehow something got damaged. Or, to be honest, it could have been dead when I bought the bike 10 years ago. I don't ever remember turning it over with the electric start. We just always kick-started it. So for the time being, we're just going to use the Kickstarter. The wiring-wise, everything checked out. Tried several different starter solenoids. They all tested out fine, so I ruled that out. Wiring-wise, I kept it simple, just plugged in the bare minimum. Everything works except the electric start. So, and even jumping the starter directly with a battery using some of these big leads here, we get nothing out of it. So for now, I'm gonna just assume that's the problem. That seems to be the only thing that's not working. So moving on here. Now, one problem that I ran into quite a while back with the CB450 engine and rear sets is really no matter where you position them, unless they're way, way back, the stock Kickstarter lever is going to hit. This is not the stock lever. This is a stock one here. And when it's out, it's really tight into the frame. So unfortunately, as you can see, this folds up so I could get this out of the way, but this part doesn't. So as this was coming down, it was contacting right here. So not good, especially with a dead starter motor. We need the Kickstarter to work. But I did run into this problem years ago and discovered that a CB360 kickstart lever, not only is it longer, which we didn't really need additional length, but it angles out quite a bit more than the CB450. And fortunately, we've got quite a bit of clearance here. So we're good there. I had this on hand. It's a little bit rusty, but it's fine. So we can kickstart this thing. So the next step is going to be to set the timing and then start sorting out at least a temporary exhaust. So I think for now, I'm going to leave this video here. So I need to dig out some parts. I don't know that I have everything for the exhaust. If I remember right, one of the headers was missing the little graphite gasket that seals between the header and the muffler. So I may need to order one of those, but I'll get all those together, and in the next video, hopefully we can drag this thing out and see if it'll start.